We're going to be joined by quite a few more. I think that they're going to start streaming in, but welcome to this month's community conversation. The topic this month is volunteering, and we're joined by five speakers, five panelists. They are Gina Esapila from Interfaith Works, Adila Sharif from the Islamic Center of Maryland, Sam Chekalos, also from Interfaith Works, Faith McNeil from the Volunteer Center at Montgomery County, and Deb Marks, a volunteer with Interfaith Works. Normally, these conversations would be run by our CEO, Courtney Hall, but I am Sam Taylor, and I am the Faith Partnerships Coordinator, and I'm filling in for tonight. I wanted to take just a quick moment to introduce Reverend Roslyn Roberts, who is our new Faith and Community Partnerships Director, and this is her first community conversation in that position. So Ros, if you wanted to say a couple words.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much. I'm looking forward to working with you all, and it's been a pleasure so far. It's my 9th day, so I'm looking forward to seeing how we're going to move forward. And should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
And Charlotte just gave me or reminded me, if you'd like, please put your information in the chat so that we can all see who's here. But without further ado, we're going to get started. And Gina Esapila is our first speaker, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you so much, Sam. I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to everyone today, and welcome everybody to our community conversation. So I will start with talking about my personal experience with volunteering. I actually started at Interfaith Works as a volunteer. I came in, I was still in school at that time. I was still doing my bachelor's degree. And I came into Becky's house to assist with administrative tasks. So Christine Hong, who is our outgoing director of homelessness, was the case manager and the program director at Becky's house at that time. So she was overwhelmed and needed some help. So pretty much what I did was come in 3 hours a week and help her type in all the notes that she had collected while going through the appointments with the residents. And I did that, then I sort of increased my hours a little bit, and then I did my internship there as well. Then I just sort of fell in love with the program. I kept on doing more and more. I became the case aide there, then the case manager, then the program director, and here I am 12 years later. I'm still here. I just completely fell in love with Interfaith Works. It completely changed the trajectory of my career because my goal was to become a psychiatrist, but I completely changed all that, and I just stayed because I just fell in love with Interfaith Works. So that was my experience with volunteering at Interfaith Works. But let's start getting into what makes volunteering important. So our programs get funding from the county or from corporate and private donors as well. But even with that, there are some needs that are not completely fully covered by those funds. And that's where the magic of volunteers comes in. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. So volunteers would come in and cover some, basic needs for clients by donating items like, that are needed in our programs, like basic meals or toiletries or meals. But, we also work with volunteers to create fun events as well that make our clients feel special. So in the past, we've done things like spa days. We've done, with manicures and hand massages. We've done things like movie nights, gardening, knitting, craft making, and even trips. This is actually a new one. At the moment, we're working with Walter Reed volunteers to plan a trip to the beach for our clients for Becky's house and Priscilla's house. This is brand new. We have never done this before, but it's something that we put out there, and they were receptive to it. So that will be coming up soon as well. And we also recently had Curbio that came in and renovated all of Priscilla's house free of charge. And then we also had Rebuilding Together that came together with other volunteers, and they did a refresh of Becky's house. And for those who did not really want to have their hands in the clay in terms of helping with the renovation and all that. They chose to donate funds to house the residents in a hotel, or also just to, help, donate funds to, get food for them while they were there, or even just bring food to the hotel so that we can get our clients fed. But, I'm not just here to talk about like the massive projects that volunteers do. We also have smaller groups and congregations and individuals that are committed to coming in and doing such impactful things. Even if it's just bringing in a meal weekly or monthly, that has a big impact as well. You've helped us feed a whole program. I'm going to talk about, Priscilla's house. You've helped us feed a whole program of 8 people. That's 8 people. Sometimes a lot of volunteers think, oh, I don't feel like I'm doing much, but I really do want to put it out there that you are making an impact, even by doing something like bringing in a meal. And for the shelters, we have, people who will come in and feed 30, 60, residents. They'll make little packages, little gift bags for our residents, which is just something special for our clients. Most of the time, we're really focused on providing basic needs for our clients, but volunteers come in and provide that special experience. They create these experiences that make our clients feel special, which they sometimes don't get anywhere, because we have residents who don't have family, who are estranged from their families. They don't have anyone. So someone coming in and, bringing a little gift basket with nail polish or lip balm or lipstick or something like that. It's just something that we see brightening the lives of our residents. So, but, we have volunteers who also come in and they're dedicated to collecting gifts and gift cards for our residents during the holiday season. Volunteers can also assist with administrative work, planning and executing events. So what I'm really trying to say is there's just so much that you can do as a volunteer. Don't feel like you're limited with what you have to do. And so you may be asking, so what can I do to get started? I would encourage you to just get started. Start small if you want to. For example, you can make cookies and drop off, or you can make sandwiches and drop off to one of our shelters, or you can go to a clothing center or a food hub and help them sort the donations coming in, or the food that has to go to, the residents, the food that is being distributed to our clients in the community. Or start big. It doesn't really matter. I would encourage you to talk to the volunteer coordinator that serves the program that you're interested in volunteering in, so that you can sort of bounce ideas off each other. We welcome new ideas. We want you to be able to talk to us and say, hey, this is what I would like to do. Let's see if it fits into, what your program is, the clients that your program serve. Talk to us so that way we can be co-creators in this volunteer experience. So not only are we making this a good experience for our residents, but we want it to be a good experience for you as well. So with that, I think I will stop talking now and maybe come in later if there are any other questions. So thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak.
Thank you for starting the conversation for us, Gina. If anybody does have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, but we will have a designated time for questions around 7:30. We're going to move on, though, to our second speaker, Adila Sharif, who is the lead of social services at the Islamic Center of Maryland.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. My name is Adila, and I am the volunteer lead for social services at ICM. My personal volunteer experience has been extremely rewarding, and I have always found some org to volunteer with. To different stages of my life, as a parent first, I volunteered as a Girl Scout leader. Then my son grew up. Then I became a Boy Scout leader. Then I saw then I saw the need at my mosque, so I started volunteering at the mosque. And each of those phases, I really enjoyed every step of the way. It was just a way that I could give back to the community wherever I was. However, when COVID hit, my individual volunteer days were suddenly over, as I became a lead for an amazing group of volunteers who decided to team up as ICM Cares. We gave ourselves a name, and we decided that we needed to help the Mogul community with their food struggles. As simple as that. We started by collecting food ourselves. We had a tote box outside our mosque. Yes, literally a tote box. Then we realized the need was higher. We started fundraising. We decided that the seniors could not get the food, so we figured out how to drop off groceries to them. We saw a video of a drive-through happening in Florida that somebody sent to us, and we were like, oh, I think we can do that. Let's figure things out. And we started doing our own drive-throughs. We quickly realized the need was too much. I didn't want to fundraise. I didn't want to sell cookies. It was COVID. So we decided to apply for a grant. That was fun. One of the questions was, how many languages do you know? What communities do you represent? And with my big base of volunteers, I had so many languages that I didn't even know myself. So we applied for the grant, we got the grant, and that's where we got started. We didn't have prior skills in this area. We really only had a mission, a common mission, that we need to feed the people that are reaching out to us. Whatever their faith is, whatever community they belong to, if they're coming up to us for food, we need to be able to provide to them. So despite the weather, whether it was cold or rainy or hot or whatever, we packed, we distributed, and we tried to make a difference. So these last couple of years, and it has been years, right? Working as a lead, it really has been life-changing for me. Like Gina mentioned, volunteer work actually does have an impact on you. When you're volunteering yourself, that's one thing. But for me, working with a group of volunteers, and I have a big group of volunteers, which are multi-generational, coming from different backgrounds in life. We just kind of gel together, keeping them moving, keeping that energy going. It has really impacted who I am. And it has helped me keep it going. I think if I was doing it personally myself, I would have gotten tired way sooner. It's the energy of my team. Every time that I show up for volunteering, I'm like, okay, we're doing a food drive and so on and so forth. And suddenly the people show up. That's the blessing that I see, and it kind of drives me. One of the reasons that volunteering is so extremely important to me is because I think it's an essential part of our faith, all faiths. One of my favorite personal prayers, secret prayer, is, oh God, use me where I can add value. I do not know what I am capable of. Help me discover my skills and use them to help your people. I believe each one of us has a unique skill that God gave us. When we volunteer, we put those skills to use. To the people that are here and that are thinking of volunteering, and if you're waiting for that magic day when you will have the time, my most important message to you is no one has extra time. That day is not going to come. All the most amazing volunteers, they do not have extra time. They have extra heart. They make the time. So you have to prioritize giving back to the community in any way, in any organization. You have to be part of doing God's work. And all you have to do is make the intention, send a prayer, and He will help you along the way. I have seen miracles, honestly, in this COVID journey. I have seen miracles where I'm like, what's going to happen now? And volunteers come, or suddenly money comes, or something like that. So you make the intention. If it is to find time, you will find the time. And with that, I would like to introduce a very, very, very favorite volunteer of mine, Samantha, and we've become very good friends during the COVID world as we were looking for projects to do, and Sam was there to guide us. So to you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Adila, and thank you everyone for being here. I love seeing everyone. Just a quick introduction. My name is Sam, and I am the Senior Community Engagement and Volunteer Coordinator at our Interfaith Works Women's Centers, and I assist with our Community Supportive Housing Program as well with donations. So what does volunteering mean to me? So for those of you who don't know me, the running joke in my family is that I have been voluntold since I was 6 years old. My mother is the director over at the Interfaith Works Essential Needs Program. So I've been with Interfaith Works since I was 6 years old. And when I was tired of working in a vet office, my mom was like, hey, there's an opening at our Women's Center. Maybe you should apply, try something new. And who knew I was going to fall in love with my job? And here I am almost 4 years later and would not consider changing for the world. I've always grown up learning to give back, and I will forever and always do my best to give to my neighbors in need, give to my job, give to anywhere local that I can to support, just because I love every type of person there is and any way I can help someone else. So what makes volunteering so important? Well, for us, it's honestly the shelter meals. It's the shelter donations. I honestly would not be able to do my job if it was not for all of the amazing volunteers that help us. Because of the volunteers, we are able to feed our clients 365 days a year, 3 meals a day, never worrying at all. It is amazing. And that's just not here at the Women's Center. That's at all our shelters. That's here at the Women's Center at Taft, at Crabs Branch, at New Leaf, and at Progress Place, and the houses. All of our shelters and all of our programs are so lucky to have amazing volunteers. So for me, it's the security that we get. You guys are our security blanket. You are our breath of fresh air that we need in this crazy world, knowing that there are others giving back to those in need. And it's the activities. The activities bring our clients so much joy. When clients come into the shelter, that's rock bottom. They're stuck, and we have volunteers who come in and will host activities. Barbara, who's in here, she hosts a sewing class, and the clients love it because they have the opportunity to use skills, learn new skills that they can take out of the shelter, and they're interacting with someone else. And it's just amazing. So, what impact have I seen in the community? So my biggest one that I've seen in the community since COVID were communities coming together. During COVID, I saw so many neighborhoods actually coming together to feed clients as a group. I have never in my life seen Nextdoor go so crazy. If you guys don't have the app, download Nextdoor. It can be hilarious. But it is amazing to see everyone come together saying, hey, we're looking to start a group. We want to do this. We want to do that. We've got so many new meal providers because of COVID. It was beautiful. We had so much food. We were honestly like, oh my gosh, what are we even supposed to do? And thankfully there was a need, so we could share it with other shelters as well. There is always room for growth for volunteering and work in areas and everywhere. And one of the biggest pieces of growth for our shelters and our programs with volunteering is repetition. Repetition is huge for us. It is the ability to have that comfort from month to month or yearly of who's coming in, who's helping, who's providing. It's something that we always need. We get a lot of groups that come in and they do a once and done, and it's great. And trust me, it is amazing and it is needed. But it's also having that security of having groups come in monthly. For instance, ICM, they provide every third third Friday of the month at our Interfaith Works Crabs Branch shelter. It's every third Friday. I never have to think about it because they're going to be there. And it's awesome. There's so many groups that do a week of meals annually, or will do things monthly, and it's huge. I know it makes such a difference for the clients who can expect the volunteers, because they're like, oh, is so-and-so coming? Is this group coming? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? That it brings a joy to the shelter, and it brings a joy to the clients who can look forward to seeing people again and knowing them and getting to know you. So it's also having the repetition. And any encouraging words that I would give to anyone considering volunteering, I think most of you are volunteers who are in this wonderful meeting today, just do it. Any idea that you have, bring to the table, because it's most likely going to be one that we want to work with. All ideas are amazing ideas, and it makes us happy. I love brainstorming different options as well. So if you ever have ideas and you don't know if it's worth it, bring it to me. I'm all ears and I'm ready to go. But thank you so much for having me here today, and I'll go ahead and pass it to Faith.
All right. Thank you, Samantha. So I'm Faith McNeil. I am the Volunteer Center Manager here in Montgomery County, and I'm really excited to be here today. I've been in my role for a little over a year. A little about me, I'm from North Carolina originally, and I kind of grew up in the church, grew up in Girl Scouts, and so volunteering really was second nature for me. And so when this position became available, I only wished that my mom was here to know that this was something that I was able to do as a career. So I'm really happy to see you all here today. And I'll stop talking about myself a bit to just share a little bit about how the Volunteer Center works here in Montgomery County. We're really lucky to have a volunteer center. Not many spaces in the United States have a center dedicated to volunteerism. And I believe Maryland is the last state that requires students to complete volunteer hours in order to graduate. So students here in Montgomery County and our Montgomery County public school system have to complete 75 hours of volunteer work before they're able to graduate. And so the Volunteer Center is a really great resource for that. So I'm going to share a little bit more about the Volunteer Center. One moment. Looks like my PowerPoint went away. Just share my whole screen, it's all good. All right. Okay, so the Volunteer Center here in Montgomery County promotes a culture of volunteerism across the county. We host a volunteer opportunity database on our website that has over 1,000 opportunities for folks to connect with nonprofits in our area. We also have something called the 50 Plus Volunteer Network. If you're over the age of 50 and you are looking to give back to your community, to use some skills that you've honed in on over the last years of your life, you know, we have this 50 Plus Volunteer Network that provides a concierge one-on-one matching service to help find the best volunteer opportunity for you. Currently, we also host our annual MLK Day of Service event, and we have the upcoming Montgomery Serves Awards, where folks are recognized for extraordinary service by some of our county's elected officials. And then we also put out a great monthly newsletter. I will show you how to sign up for that if you're interested in hearing more from the Volunteer Center in just a moment. So this is what our website looks like. It is, again, montgomeryserves.org. Once you come to our website, you see that it's really a giant search engine for volunteer opportunities. You can create your own volunteer profile here. You can search and sign up for opportunities. You can communicate directly with nonprofit agencies, and you can find those SSL, which is the Student Service Learning approved opportunities for your children or youth in your community. So this is a snapshot of my volunteer profile. I don't really use our website, but you see that here on our volunteer profile, you can keep up with how many hours that you've done, how many opportunities that you've responded to, and then you can also have favorite organizations that you can hear from anytime they post an opportunity. And based on your interest that you put in your profile, you'll hear more, you'll get this suggested opportunity that are handpicked just for you based on what you're interested in and those organizations that you said are near and dear to your heart. This just kind of shows what it looks like for the opportunities to come up. You can use our filters to find opportunities that work for you. So as you can see in the filter selection, you can sort by the date, how close it is to you, your interest, any qualifications you may have. We're actually building that out. Eventually, it's going to have some language stuff in there. So really excited about doing that as well. And again, you can search for student service learning opportunities. We have flagged every opportunity that has been approved by MCPS for students to earn those hours. And so they'll have this nice blue banner at the top. This shows an opportunity that's coming up this weekend for students to participate in Earth Month. And so really great opportunity to find, really great resource to find current opportunities to volunteer with some of our local nonprofits. So this is a little bit more about our 50+ volunteer network. If you're over the age of 50, typically we find that those folks are retired or planning for retirement and really looking for, a next step. Someone who's an empty nester, children just went off to school, typically find really great opportunities through our 50+ volunteer network. We have a team of advisors, volunteer advisors, who really help with finding good opportunities. Here's a couple of examples of folks that we currently have in the 50+ network. We have a retired attorney with over 30 years of experience. She kind of lets us know what she's done and what she's interested in. And we take this bio and we find a really great opportunity for this person. And then you can see we also right now have a senior executive who has worked in the government, for-profit and nonprofit. So we have volunteers from all backgrounds that come through our 50+ network, and we have opportunities of all types that we can connect volunteers with. If you are interested in the 50+ network, the email address that you can email is 50plus@montgomerycountymd.gov. And last but not least, if you are if you belong to a nonprofit or you are interested in learning about how to be on our website to recruit volunteers, I encourage you to join us on one of our agency orientation days. Our next one is May 31st, and the one after that is June 28th. We do them once a month, and you can register for them on our website. And that is it. That's all I have. I think that I'm still under 5 minutes. Sorry if I was going really fast, but I wanted to get in all that good information.
Awesome. Thank you, Faith. We do have some questions pouring in. We're just going to have one last presenter speak, and that is Deb Marks, a volunteer with Interfaith Works.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm speaking from the perspective of one of the volunteers. And I think that, my own personal experience with volunteering really parallels the stories that people have shared already. When I was thinking about it today, I was thinking that maybe just I focused a little bit more on the fact that my parents had been a really good role model for volunteering. And I don't think you can ever really underscore that as a teacher or a mentor or a parent, just how you can be a role model to emphasize those kinds of things. And through the years, it was activities through college, whether it was public interest research or Amnesty International, and then through church. And then as our kids were growing up, it was, needs for service or leadership through our kids' activities in the schools. And on it goes. And now at Interfaith Works, well, my daughter, Miranda Marks, is the volunteer coordinator at the clothing center. And I would say she is relentless. And I have volunteered at the clothing center, through the food distribution. Our church is very active with various community services, and I've been involved with providing meals at the Women's Center. And currently I'm working through the volunteering through the Connections program. What makes volunteering important? I don't think there's anything in any way frivolous about volunteering. Sometimes there are just things that do not get done if somebody doesn't volunteer to do it. Sometimes, people say, or it sounds like volunteering is like an extra kind of thing, but it's a vital thing. And that's really how I feel. I think that partially I'm responding to the example that my parents set for me. And also, it's an expression of my faith. It's an opportunity to be able to serve other people. And that's very important to me. One of the things that I do at our church is I coordinate readers for Sunday services. And I was sending out readings today, and I realized that this one particular reading that we're doing on Sunday, like it really describes my idealized vision of life. And just very briefly, it was everybody who was together, they had all things in common. They'd sell their possessions and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day, they spent time together. They broke bread and were glad and had generous hearts, having the goodwill of all the people. And that just really is a nice capsule description. When I was thinking about the impact of volunteering in what I currently do at Interfaith Works, well, I'm somewhat of a team of one as a volunteer. It started, so I'm just, going to talk about the wonderful things I do. When I started this, COVID was on, and I wasn't comfortable hanging out at the center, and they were able to arrange it so that I could do things from home, because most of what I do is through phone calls. So I'm just very briefly, I guess I imagine that that the Connections program helps provide emergency financial assistance. And the first step is intake calls. And so I call the people I return calls to the people who have requested assistance. And often I think I'm the first voice that somebody hears. I'm the first contact to the Connections program. And, these are people that are in very vulnerable situations. And so I think the first impact that I have is just through treating people with dignity. And it's just a very necessary cornerstone of what I feel needs to happen. I think it really stinks to be in trouble and to not be able to provide for yourself and to say, I need help. And so I hope that I set a positive tone for the rest of the process for the clients that I contact. It's really relatively simple for me to, look up some extra information to give to clients. And it's not a great effort on my part, but I think that it helps clients with their self-agency, enhances their ability to be self-sufficient in some way. And so I think that's a positive impact. And I think the more fully that I'm able to describe things for clients and to accurately gather information, that it helps the resource coordinators, and it makes the rest of the process go a little bit more smoothly. So those are the positive impacts that I think this volunteer position with Connections has. And that's all I was going to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Deb, and thank you to all of our speakers. We're going to continue the conversation now with some questions, and I wanted to give Barbara Clark the opportunity to voice her question.
Hi, I've been volunteering with Interfaith since 2008. I did a monthly sewing class, even when it was over on Wilkins Avenue, and have moved to the Taft Center and had my first class actually at the Crabs Branch Center, and they were very inquisitive and they were eager to do their project. But do that. I used to sign in on a computer, like a iPad, and my hours were recorded. But in since COVID started, there isn't a book for the volunteers to sign in, and there isn't a computer to sign in on. Do those hours then get reported to the county volunteer center too?
So I can definitely answer that one. And yes, before we used to have an iPad that everyone did get to sign in on, and unfortunately it got passed around, I guess, too many times, and it's no longer with us. But the hours are still documented And at the end of all the fiscal years, all of the hours that volunteers put in are recorded and shared in a report that does go to the county. But they are not done specifically through, I think, the Montgomery volunteering that Faith is responsible for. But don't worry, your hours count.
I will also add to that. So, during COVID, a lot of things just kind of changed for many organizations, and the Volunteer Center was not, we weren't missed by that, right? So I want to say that this year we're bringing back the Community Service Week, and that's been a week where we've been encouraging nonprofits to do a community service project, and those do get reported through the Volunteer Center. And then we hope to finally bring back our annual report where we will be asking nonprofits to share that information. Again, it will be an opt-in share, but things are starting to come back with the Volunteer Center visibility, people actually knowing, who we are and what we do. Just give us a little time, but we're getting there.
Awesome. Hetty has her hand up.
Yes, how do you track 15 years of volunteering time? But the question I do have is, should we be tracking the amount of time that we are supporting Interfaith? For example, we did about 40 Easter baskets for the community. Now, it took a lot of time to do that, but we're not tracking our hours. And we may put some baskets together for the housing program, but we're not tracking that. So should we be tracking that time and providing it to someone? Because really, we're always doing something. You may not see the result until maybe the next week or a few days later. So what should we be tracking that, and how do we do that? Is there anything that you all, Samantha, that you all need to know that we're not providing you other than the end product?
Yes, so if you are able to tell us your hours that you are doing outside of the shelters, outside of our facilities, it is super helpful for us. One thing that we are still trying to figure out how to operate, honestly, is how to track the donations and how to track the hours. So it's been a kind of a trial and error, especially through COVID, because we haven't had the opportunity to really hand you an iPad and say, hey, fill this out, please, or sending surveys does sometimes get a little old, so we haven't been doing those. But yes, if you are able to track what you are doing, how long it takes, and maybe the amount that it is, you can always send us an email, and that absolutely helps us to keep our records as accurate as possible.
Thank you.
Thank
May
you.
I also just add that on the volunteer sheets that we have a place towards the end that shows the hours and the number of volunteers that were part of the project. So we'd also encourage you to put those hours there if you have it, or even if you just have like a general number of how many hours it's been or how many people were part of it. I would encourage you to put that in there as well. It really helps. It helps us track and be able to see the impact of what you're doing. Because I know, Miss Hetty, you do a lot. You do a lot. So and we're really thankful for that as well. Thank you so much for your dedication to us.
Thank you. It's a blessing, as everyone said. It truly is a blessing.
Barbara, I did see your comment, and you can always send an email. That definitely helps us all, especially like when you're coming to the Women's Center. If you want to just send me an email and say, hey, this is what we did, that's huge for me in helping track. Again, we're still trying to figure out a system that we can have right by the door when you come in, where you can log in. It's just trying to figure it out at the moment.
So, like you mentioned, we do a food drop off every month, and I have a sign up genius where I kind of let people sign up on the various food that they're bringing. So I know exactly who they are. As we were talking about how to quantify that time, one of the things that I can easily do is send out a Google link. Google Forms is amazing in terms of the way it can collect information. So as part of thank you for volunteering for dropping off the meals, I can always have my volunteers fill out that Google form in terms of approximate cost and estimate of their time. So it would be an easy form. They fill it out, I send it over to you, and we're done. So
That would be amazing.
Miranda, I think I noticed that you had your hand up early on.
That was an accident on my part, and I'm very sorry for it.
No worries. Any other questions? Well, I've prepared. Oh, go ahead.
Good evening. So I have one. I understand the hours tracking is good for reporting. Are there any other benefits besides the reporting aspect of it?
Yes, so a huge benefit with the tracking is it helps our funding for the coming years. It helps the county see really how much the volunteers are truly doing. There is a value given to such as the amount of hours. So if you're working, it says that maybe an hour of work is such and such amount, and that's showing how much someone is doing basically as a full-time employee. It shows the county how much we strive on volunteers, how we succeed because of volunteers. So even though it might sound silly that, we're tracking the 2 hours that someone's doing or the 30 minutes, it does add up and make a huge difference. And it just highlights, one, the volunteers, and two, how we can't do anything without our volunteer.
Thank
It
you.
also allows for those young persons who are trying to get their community service hours an opportunity for scholarships as well. So the more hours they have volunteering gives them an opportunity to get more scholarship money as well.
I'll
Yeah, I was
also-
actually
just going to say, we just wrapped up our nomination season and we saw Interfaith Works show up on quite a few of our nominees nominations. So it does also help for those reasons as well.
okay. Good. Thank you. Good to know.
I'll just also add that there are some companies who are now, many of you may be familiar with, if you work with companies or affiliated with companies, that they will do matching donations, so that if one of their employees makes $100, they'll match it. Some companies are actually doing matching volunteer hours. So if one of their employees donates so many hours, then they will give a financial match to the nonprofit for that as well.
Thank you. These are really great benefits. At least from my perspective, I wasn't aware of them. So knowing this would also encourage or help the organizations to ask people for volunteer hours, since they feel that they would be contributing to the growth of that organization through these other channels on how you are using the volunteer hours for reporting and other things as well.
I have a question that was touched upon, but I'd like to see if you guys could speak to it. I was curious, and I know the answer for Interfaith Works, but I was curious how your organizations show their appreciation for the volunteers that they have.
are you asking me? Non-Interfaith Works?
Actually, if you could all speak to it just briefly, that'd be great.
I wish there was a way to show appreciation more. I think the thing that has worked for me really is just saying it out loud. We do have our events where we've kind of done some sort of recognition with food and so on and so forth. But honestly, it's not enough. The thing that really matters, I think, to people as human beings, because we connect with it more, is a thank you. That's all there is. Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's that personal touch. It's after an event, reaching out to somebody, seeing what they did, acknowledging it, and just reaching out to them directly, saying, thank you so much. If you had not done such and such, we would not have been successful. For the younger people, it's appreciating their leadership skills, because oftentimes, if they're elderly over there, they might think that they're not getting noticed enough. So it is that extra attention that you give to the volunteers. Sometimes the staff laughs at me because it's kind of like my volunteers come first for anything. So they are the heart and soul of everything I do.
This is Teddy. Can I add a note to that? One of the things with I support several organizations, my church, National Council of Negro Women, and myself. We make it a fellowship. We sort of, because of COVID, we use the church has a large, you all have been there, fellowship room, and we sort of did a assembly line process of our work. So we would spread things out. We'd still be masked, and the items that we want to donate to Becky's house or one of the homes, we will work in a assembly line. And after that, we will have a fellowship. Either someone would bring in some goodies or some drinks. And I love putting together a little thank you bag. And it really seemed to work. And the last event we had, I didn't have a certain type of cookies that I done in the past. So they were asking for that. But we do it as a fellowship. And the ladies really are, and the men really are eager to do this. Again, it's a blessing for them. They know it's part of what we should be doing, blessing others. And we sort of make it as a fellowship. And everyone said they have a second job because of volunteering. And I know everybody feels that way, but I think the fellowship and the camaraderie among each other, and knowing that you're going to have a final product to help somebody, it's really a blessing. So we have fun in doing what we do.
I'll say that it's similar for us at the volunteer center. We have a very small team that is actually, paid staff at the volunteer center. Probably 70% of our workforce is volunteer. And so one of the things we do to appreciate our staff is that we have a meeting once a month called the super staff meeting. And that's where we have our super staff come and we recognize some of the things that our volunteers have done over the month. We share with them, what's going on within the volunteer center, what some of our goals are, what we're working on, what's coming up. Just to really appreciate them as a part of the landscape of the volunteer center and the fact that they really do help us keep going. We also have a luncheon once a year. This is National Volunteer Recognition Month. And so we've been doing quite a bit this month. We had a lunch last week on the 19th, 2 weeks ago? Time's flying. So on the 19th. And really just doing our best to provide them with, so we have what we call a tiered recognition system. And so we provide swag really. So like, once you have a certain number of hours, you might get a water bottle or, a nice blanket or a t-shirt. And that really seems to help as well with folks really feeling part of a community and really reaching for some of those volunteer recognition things. Oh, I should also say the volunteer awards. If you know folks, you can nominate the folks that volunteer with you if you are a volunteer. Those are coming up, but providing that county level recognition. And what we are going to do this year, even with those who have not won the volunteer award, we are going to still recognize them on our social media, in our newsletter. So we'll be reaching out to everyone because we feel like the stories that we've read are really touching, and we feel like people should hear about the volunteerism that's happening. So I think also the social media aspect, newsletters, really shouting folks out, and then nominating for those county level awards really is helpful.
I'd like to pose another question, and that would be somewhat two-parted. It would be, in what ways do you think volunteering is well represented in the county, and where are there rooms for growth? To whomever would like to speak on that.
I can. I'm also a Girl Scout, and I'm also a Cub Scout leader. So I know for a fact we have boys and kids that are doing service in order to get their achievements. At our church, we have a group that's doing through the Habitat for Humanity. They're helping a resident get their house fixed, and with some contractors. And so that's through Habitat, and that's through our church. And then our church also does work through the PDA, and they're on their way to New Bern, North Carolina to do some work on a house there. So there's, it depends where you look, and there are lots of opportunities.
I agree. There are lots of opportunities. We see most of the opportunities showing up in Up County and Mid and Up County, but we know that there's a lot happening in the Silver Spring, Down County areas as well. So we're hoping to, spread our fingerprint there and really get folks on the Volunteer Center website that are in those areas. But we are seeing volunteerism happen all across the county. And in every nook and cranny, truly, especially since COVID, folks are really helping each other out, and not in really. Sometimes it's not within a nonprofit, and so sometimes it doesn't necessarily show up for in the same way that other volunteerism does. But I will say that volunteerism, I should say, a room for growth would be in really celebrating volunteerism, which is one of the reasons why we're bringing back Community Service Week, which is something that was specific to Montgomery County, where we really just got everyone on board with knowing that this is a week that we celebrate community service. And so you all will be hearing about that, but just, it is happening. And I will say visibility is truly area for growth.
I think one of the areas of growth is really sharing some of the stories as well. It's great to appreciate volunteers, but listening to those stories would be so inspiring for so many more people. I'm lucky I'm here. I get to share my story with all of you, but each one of the volunteers that has volunteered with me, 150 of them, have a story to share. So if there was a way for them to share how volunteering has impacted them personally. Like I know some of the seniors were like, this really helped with my mental health because I would otherwise have been stuck at home with COVID. So there are so many ways that volunteering impacts every person slightly differently. If there was a way to share those stories, I think that would just be so powerful because it would inspire the people that are on the fence. What should I do? There is so much to do. Up there, praying that they find you.
Thank you, everyone. I wanted to take the last few minutes to address a question that Glorianne had posed, and she had asked, is is the Montgomery County Volunteer Center the only way to recruit volunteers? Charlotte has shared a link for an event that Interfaith Works is hosting in cooperation with the Office of Community Partnerships at the county. And ICM has graciously offered, with Adila's great help, to host that event for us. So it will be on May 6th, and we have over 30 organizations represented there. The goal is then to invite anybody who really is interested in volunteering in any capacity, faith community members, students looking for volunteer hours, and to come see those opportunities displayed and make those connections. The event is on May 6th. It's 10 to 12 p.m. Let me briefly share with you our flyer. Please, if you're interested, please put your email in the chat so I can send some information via email as well. But this is a good representation of who we will have at the fair, and we'd love to see everybody there. I think we're a little bit early, but I'm going to give you back a few minutes. Thank you to each and every one of our speakers. And thank you to everybody for participating.